Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for Tarot the Stash Way. I've called this like 16 different things. Phrasing questions, asking appropriate questions. And I am joined by Thomas of Tarot Your Way. Say hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas. Hi, Gerald. Hi, Deb.
And Deb, Purple Elephant Deb H is here. Hello.
Hello.
And by the way, I am Gerald of Tarot Stash. Everybody knows what I'm going to say, right? What am I going to say? Yeah. Like, share, and subscribe. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes.
And welcome to the Best Chatters.
Yes.
So, and speaking of the Best Chatters, let's inform the Best Chatters of what things you all have coming up this week so that while they are following the links below, I put all of the links to how to contact Thomas and Deb in the description. Thomas, what do you got coming up this week?
This week I am going camping, and the next live that I have is with Kelly of Dozen and Cats Wellness Tarot, Monday night, the 18th.
Excellent. And Deb has muted herself because Monkey is actually out racing a car.
Something like that, yes.
There you go. So what do you got coming up, Deb?
Well, later on today, I believe I'm going to be part of Caffeinated and Unfiltered, and that will be this evening. And then Thursday, there will be a Woo Woo Witchery and Coffee Club episode right back here on Tarot Stash. And I'm in talks, don't tell anybody, I'm in talks with Miss Tarot D. So at some point, I'm going to probably in October have Miss Tarot D come to my place for a little chat.
Love it. Love it. Later today, I have Caffeinated and Unfiltered with multiple guests. Then tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, I have Medium Betsy Palmer and Terry from Holding Your Space. We're doing channeled messages. And then Jamie and I on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, which is 3 p.m. Central, we are doing a back and forth, and we're talking about deck temptations.
That'll be fun.
So yes, so people can do a hashtag with that. And then Tuesday evening, I am a guest on Deanne Shieldmaiden Tarot at 8 p.m. Eastern. So should be fun. And so there's that. And I've probably forgotten some. Oh, and then Thursday, Woo Woo Witchery and Coffee Club. So
will that be your first one-on-one collaboration with Deanne?
It will be, yes.
Well, that will be interesting.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So everybody, so that we know, here's what we're talking about. Welcome to Tarot the Stash Way. Let's say hi to a bunch of people because 20 of the best chatters are here. And Sharon Sipe is here. Hello, Sharon. Good to see you. Leah, Deb, Beth.
That's Beth, yes.
Yeah, Beth.
Aspasia Rising, because I read the first name in that.
Yes, you did.
Right. Medium Betsy Palmer, who again, reading with me in the morning or in the afternoon. Rossi is here. Hello. Fogo Pogo. Hello. And Hershey, the shadow reader, is here. Woohoo. Nalani, Hypnicity. Linda Bishop. Oil Painter is here. Good to see you.
Diana.
Yes. And Nancy at Crohn's Intuition. She probably had to take a nap after the readings that we did this morning.
Were they that strenuous?
I was working her really hard. She and Jane. I mean, I was having to up my game with the two of them. So Silver is here. Hello. And okay. Oh, and Fogo Pogo is work lurking. So I certainly encourage work lurking because you need to, be employed.
Yes.
So, and Lady Silver is also going to watch the replay. Thank you, Silver. Just getting caught up. I am always uncensored. Well, yes, sometimes.
Most of the time.
So, and Linda Bishop asked, I want to know what you all think about my ability to think something and it happens. Think transmission, it goes out. Think tires and 11 tires need to be bought. I'm going to highlight that. We'll see if we can get some of that because that could actually be an interesting question for what we're doing. Deck Temptations might be a 48-hour marathon given the subject matter.
It could be.
It really could be. We're gonna have guests coming, in periodically. Kathy Tortoiseshell Moon is here. Hello, Akila B24, and Lisa Niedermeyer is here, and and okay. All right, so this is okay to remind people, since it's the last time we did a Tarot the Stash Way, we finished up colors. That took
Yes.
3 episodes. So this is about phrasing the questions. The whole idea about Tarot the Stash Way is to help you get information and insight on how to do tarot your way, because I'm not stealing. I mean, tarot your way. That's partially what you were thinking about, right, Thomas? It's like you're going to help people learn how to do it themselves.
It's not trademarked.
It's not. It's not. So this is to help you build upon your reading repertoire. So, okay. So I'm go. Oh, wait a minute. Here, let me do this. Here you go. This section of the video is brought to you by the word question. Everyone say it with me. Question. Question. An act or instance of asking. Inquiry. No question about it. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channels. Question.
Question.
That's right. Question. And so, I see Pierrette is here. Hello, Pierrette and Amanda Carroll. Good to see you. So I have created some banners for this. And, again, this is asking appropriate questions. I'd like to hear from each of you why you think it's important to think about how we phrase questions for readings. And by the way, this is readings of any kind. This isn't a tarot reading. It's readings of any kind. So,
Go ahead, Deb.
The kind of question you ask directly impacts the kind of reading you get.
mm-hmm.
So if it's a very vague question, you will get a vague answer, or you'll get a detailed answer that will take several hours.
Yes. Or sometime in my instance, Deb, is when people just say, oh, just a general question, that could take several hours.
It could.
And Nalani said, you have to ask the right question. Yes. Thomas, what are your thoughts on why is it important to think about how we phrase the questions for readings?
Well, I think first of all, you have to have that self-assessment going on. and you need to have your goals set, actionable goals, not just wish fulfilling goals. You want to be an active part of acquiring your goals. So it's got to be something realistic and reasonable. And then you can formulate your question on one of your goals, because I think everybody needs personal goals, financial goals, health goals,
Sure.
all those things going on in your life. And then you take that assessment and you figure out what's most important to you at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
or what's most pressing for you.
Yes. Well, and I'm also going to build on what the two of you said. It's, why are you asking the question? What do you hope to get out of the reading? Are you just hoping to get some comfort? Are you hoping to get some insight? Are you hoping to find out something that you're missing? All of those are valuable things to consider. And I think it's important to think about how we phrase a question. For me, and sometimes when I'm working with somebody and doing a reading for them, part of the conversation is helping them find out what it is they truly want to know, so that let's say somebody, you can pay me to do a reading for you. I want you to get the most of that time.
Yes.
So, but there's in the business world, there's something, Tanis has talked about this. It's like asking why, like 5 or 7 times. It helps you to peel back the layers and to understand what's truly going on. So, all right, I want to get caught up with some people, because we've had some more people who have come in, and you have to ask the right questions, my dear. Yes. And we were talking about this. The right questions depend upon how you interact with your reader and your readings. No judgment here. It's just think about it. And Amanda Carroll said, important topic for us. Thanks for covering. You're welcome, Amanda. Thank you for being here. And by the way, if people have an opinion about why it's important to think about asking the question, please do so. Linda Bishop said, we need bullseye questions to get to the point. Yes. I like that, bullseye.
Vague questions get vague answers.
They can get answers that don't have anything to do with what you were initially thinking about. So,
or even wanted to know.
Oh, that's the truth. Oh my gosh. Open-ended questions provide better answers, I think. I agree with you. Because it also helps, for me, it's very much, I approach tarot as a dialogue. So that's how I approach it. And okay. Okay, chat just a little, okay. Is this phrasing questions as the reader or the seeker? Kathy, it's actually both.
Yes.
That is a gem of a question. Thank you. Because I think, I think if somebody comes to me and they have thought about a question and it's really clear and we discuss it, all they're doing is providing information to the universe to help me be a conduit for information that's going to be helpful.
Yes.
So, Morella is here. Hello. Here you go. Managing expectations is a thing in a tarot reading. Absolutely. And Shelley is here. Coning, not I don't know if that's the technique for asking whys or something like that. Anyhow, all of those whys. It could be. Fogo Pogo says it's asking why 5 times, getting to the root of the issue. And Deb, you and I have talked about this in our previous conversations about ethics.
Mm-hmm.
Is something to remember when someone comes to you for a reading of some kind. They are already in a place of need. They want some support. So having the ability to get to the root of the question can be really helpful. Confirmation connected to your intuition, yes. Oh, and Fogo Pogo says it's annoying when Tanis does that, but it works. So, and the important thing is that we likely already have the answers or would not be asking the question. That could certainly be. What do you think about that, Tom?
I don't know. I ran around life for a long time without knowing the answers. So it may just be a true longing to find the path.
Sure. But there's a desire to want to know something. You know, there's something that it's like you need to know something, but what is it? So Amanda Carroll said, I often have a hard time forming questions. Sometimes I just want to communicate with the energies of guides, etc. And Amanda, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And if you are Thomas, you're still doing your daily polls and you're exploring different cards on your channel.
Yes.
And it's a great way to get to understand how the cards work for you and what language they are having. So,
yeah, there's just been a little gap because of the laryngitis.
But obviously, he's better. So that's a good thing. Yeah, hypnicity, that. What?
I wanted to also add to Amanda's observation that it's hard to form questions sometimes. That's when you really need to listen, to pay attention to what's going on. And maybe the question you need isn't the first question you ask. Maybe you come around to that question. So ask more than one. If you're reading for yourself, ask more than one question.
Yes. Well, and I think Beth also has that and says, and you can just say that to get the reading you want.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Morella also wants that, Amanda. And Diane said, Diane, right?
Yeah, Diana. Mm-hmm.
Diana. Totally open-ended is a great way to get the ball started and see where the shifting ley line takes you. Ah, there you go. Thank you. Ooh. We need to hear from our loved ones or spirit. And when we do, we do. And by the way, oftentimes they're going to show up in the reading.
Yes.
So, yeah. Linda Kelzer is here. Hi, Linda. I also find in a good tarot reading, the cards aren't shocking the querent. The querent already knows, but wants confirmation.
And that goes to Thomas's point.
Yes. Yes. And confirmation and validation. Absolutely. So I do want to point out, I know, surprising, but I have been doing some research on this. And there's some really wonderful resources. In no particular order, The Holistic Tarot by Benabel Wynn actually has a section in her book about Where did it go? Really? Chapter 24 is called Inappropriate Questions, and gives some really important information about if you're because how she approaches tarot is and encourages us to think about is, what are our responsibilities? We are not lawyers, we're not doctors. If you're concerned about that, go to seek the professional. This is a bit of a holistic approach, and she talks about that ethical tarot readers will often rephrase a seeker's question around like the energies related to it's like, where am I most blind? And one of the things that she says on page 543 is, act with integrity and wisdom when you use the tarot. The purpose of the tarot is to guide and inspire people to better their own situation. I think that's something important to consider. And Thomas, are you okay? What are you thinking? Okay.
Just zoning out. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to get a download, but I got the same busy signal.
And Benabel also has a great chart on page 554, which is a flow chart for determining appropriateness of questions. I mean, how can you not love something like this? Because if you're a visual person, it's really very, very helpful. And there's a lot of support for having rationale and the answers. So I will put that one down. And then there is this is one of the first editions, Mary K. Greer Tarot Mirrors, Reflections of Personal Mastery, has a question in here. It has a section called The Art of Asking Questions. And she does go through like the kinds of questions you ask are important, and says, on the other hand, there are no stupid questions, simply those that are not phrased in a beneficial way so as to aid you in achieving your real goals. So that goes back to what you were saying, Thomas, having outlines and having some steps. So and she goes through with that, and this is an old edition, but tarot mirrors are quite helpful. I'm going to get caught up in chat. Hang on. What have I missed? Lots of good stuff, I see. Confirmation. Figuring a good tarot. Yes. Okay. There we go. Confirmation and validation. Honesty is so important. If you feel speaking your truth will make you too vulnerable, too tender of a spot, maybe personal inquiry is due. Delphi Ross is here. Hi, Delphi. Should we avoid asking questions involving time, wording such as soon? What do you think about that, Deb?
For me, okay, I'm not, excuse me, great with time, but in certain situations, I can narrow down a specific time. Soon is too vague of a time frame for the guides to really zone in on. So something more specific can be appropriate. So if it's like in terms of days or months, then you can narrow down a time frame, or seasons sometimes.
Yeah.
Soon is a very vague word.
Soon, when you're dealing with, time is different. Mm-hmm. Thomas, do you do stuff about timing?
Usually when a moon card shows up for me in a reading about time, it's within a month, a moon cycle, the 29 days. Sun could indicate year.
Okay.
one rotation around the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of timing is very difficult to pin down with tarot, and there are a lot of timing sensitive questions that we're asking because we need to nail down housing or positions or careers before the next school season so the children can get into school and not be taken out of school too soon
Sure.
here and moved to another place. So timing in life is like a lot of things. Timing is important. If things come to you at the right time, it's very fortunate.
Yes, and I also think that sometimes asking an appropriate question or a well phrased question can shift the timing because you've shifted the energy around it. That's my belief. There are some readers who are very good at timing.
Yes.
And if you have a specific timing question, you might want to seek them out. So, and okay, just yes, Deb. Other questions will inspire me often. Good point, Deb. Stop and listen. Yes, and yeah, our guides and ancestors and the teams who want to help you, they're going to show up, especially depending upon the reader. So, all right. And Morella loves your coffee mug.
Thank
Back
you, Marilla.
back to the bullseye metaphor. When someone has a question, I let them talk about the issue for like 30 minutes, then we zero in on a questions. I think that's the sign of a good reader, because what is it, Thomas, you used to work with technology, garbage in, garbage out. So I think that's really important. And I also think we rely on you, the readers, because we don't trust ourselves. It's a good point. It's a good point. Just getting caught up. I sometimes rephrase questions as a reader to make them more expansive. Will I find love, which is a yes or no question, rephrased to what can I do to be open to finding love? That is a beautiful rephrasing. And in fact, Mary Kay Greer talks about that. It's like, what can I do? What is it that I'm looking for will help me understand. That's a really helpful question. So,
Love at the laundromat.
love in the laundromat.
Yeah.
Is this something that you've had happen?
It's from She Devil.
Oh, okay. Okay. I haven't seen She Devil in a long time. As much as I dislike time Q&As, it's unavoidable. It will come up. Medium Betsy Palmer says, yeah. Debbie Aquarius Owl is here. Hi, Debbie.
And no matter how fast I want something to happen, it's going to take what it takes. And it may never come to pass.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Diana is heading out. So, okay. And Beth said, Thomas, I think a lot of the trick to timing is to be open to the universe's timing because the human ego wants to control our timing.
Beth has narrowed it into my essential control issues.
Yeah. And you're getting a lot of love, Thomas. I'm a little behind, but you're getting a lot of love. And everybody, please show your love by going over and liking and subscribing to Thomas. All of his links are below. So, and Betsy said, yeah, right, Beth. Meanwhile, such distance will be covered before we get to the narrow. Mm-hmm. And Thomas, Tarot Your Way, Tom of Early Ritual is saying hi to Gerald, Thomas, and Deb. and is mentioning best chatters. So I am surprised. I want to talk about one more book, actually two more books. If you have a guidebook that comes with a deck, look into that book after you've played with the deck a little bit to see if there may be some information about phrasing the question. This is from the Transparent Tarot by Emily Carding. And there's a section on here is focusing on the question. And, it's like she says, for example, the question, how can I make Harold fall in love with me, is unlikely to produce a useful response. Whereas, what is the nature of the relationship between Harold and I? Or the more open, what can I do to find love? So that's very helpful. And then Jenna Matlin in her book, Will You Give Me a Reading? Does have a section in here about half the work is in the question.
Yes.
So I think asking the appropriate question is very good. And let's face it, when you get a general reading, the tarot is going to decide the topic. And you may not want that. So, and also I think in asking the right questions, it does help manage the expectations of the querent. So, okay. All right. Yes, and that's also what Beth had said. Managing expectations is a thing in a tarot reading. Yes. Okay. Thomas, do you have any thoughts
Um,
on anything?
as long as I'm not gatekeeping.
As long as you're not gatekeeping.
Yeah. Well, or guiding questions to my will, or suggesting maybe something that would be actionable for them to ask the question.
That's a really good point, Thomas. Thank you. Because as readers, ethical readers, we're there to answer the querent's question and read the cards as they fall, not what we think they should do. So that's a really good point. Deb is going like this, and she's listening to her guides when she's.
I wanted to add also what I do is I tend to try to phrase what the card says in a way that the querent can accept the information. So I may not come out with a real blunt answer, even though that's what the card says. I may try to phrase the answer in such a way that they can hear it, because sometimes they feel like they're being beaten up on if it's a really blunt answer. So it's always good to remind them that this is a possible outcome. It's not absolutely set in stone that this will happen. This is a pitfall, maybe, that you can be on the lookout for. So yes, read them as they fall, absolutely, but make it in such a way that the querent can accept the message.
Can hear it. I think I agree. I think that's very important. Even in the caffeinated and unfiltered readings, I can be really blunt. However, I can also be kind with my bluntness.
Yes.
And my directness. So sometimes it's concise. And I also think it's important. We have to pay attention to how the querent is responding to the information we're giving them.
Yes.
So
yeah, and then we all have trigger cards, and I think anybody who's ever watched tarot readers, on Tarot Tube, they have cards that they're afraid of, whether it be the Three of Swords or the Tower or Death or they hear a font, or there's triggers all over. Ten of Swords, Nine of Swords. Oh my goodness,
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true, and we need to pay attention to that, because I was doing some reading, and we may have talked about it before in Tarot the Stash Way. Is there are positives and negatives on every single card,
Yes.
and sometimes the best card to see in a reading could be the Ten of Swords. It could be the Tower. So.
It could be the catalyst to doing
Yep.
what needs to be done.
Thankful is here. And Fogo Pogo said, I know sometimes there have been readings where to the reader it makes absolutely no sense to them, but as soon as they talk to the querent, it becomes perfectly clear.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's as a reader, it's not your message.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary for you to understand it.
Yeah. And Nancy said it's important that it's well received. Yeah, and it doesn't mean they have to like it. They just have to receive it. They have
Right.
to. And yeah, like there seems to be no connection right away, but then when you talk about it, it can be.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. By the way, the best chatters are going to town.
Yes, they are.
Thomas and Deb have both been staying up with it. I have not. So, Medium Betsy Palmer said, I had a client get the truth she suspected but couldn't accept, and boy, was she mad at me. Yeah.
Can happen.
Yeah. And Tom mentioned the Sun card, that damn creepy baby. Trigger, Hypnicity, Nalani said, we are the messenger. Yes.
I want to know why that baby is riding the horse. I think there's age limits, right? Appropriateness. Yeah.
Maybe. So, but we are the messenger, and I think it's easier to deliver a message with a clear question. So,
Yes.
Sadhana is here, Integrative Healing with Sadhana. By the way, if you are not subscribed to their channel, please go, because Sadhana has talked about this question as well.
Yes.
And I think this is a good conversation. Kala Lizzie is here. And Tom said, I agree. All the cards are both. There are times I love seeing the Tower show up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, every pancake has two sides, and now I want pancakes.
Yes.
But that's very true. And Nancy said it might be something that hasn't happened or yet happened. Makes no sense, and they go to work, and there it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here you go. Are you certain you want to ask this question, dear querent? It's a great, great question.
Yes.
Yeah. So, that's great. Okay, so this sort of goes into what we were talking about, but I'm curious about what do we mean by appropriate questions? Who wants to give this a stab first?
For me, an appropriate question is something that, well, there are two things. Firstly, does it fall in line with my ethics? Am I able to ask the question that way? And I may be able to rephrase it in such a way that it would be appropriate for me. But also, is it appropriate in the way that that it's phrased? And it's sort of the same thing. There's not really a bad question. It's just maybe it's bad phrasing, or if it's involving someone. I'm not allowed to talk about people who I don't have their explicit permission to read. So like a third party question for me, I have to either rephrase it or not answer it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and yes, and that's and see, and this is important, is that goes back to the ethics of reading. It's like, yeah, and it honors your guidelines. So, Thomas, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you do third party readings
Um,
for someone who is not there, or, and somebody asks
for
about?
somebody who's not there, I try to rephrase it and see the general energy around it. Um, if you ask a petty question like, "What does so and so think about me?" It's really no business of mine to know what anybody thinks about me.
Mhm.
It's my purpose to go to bed guilt free and not think badly of myself. So anybody can think whatever they want of me, just as long as it doesn't come to slander and defamation. You know, keep their opinions to themselves and not try to run a smear campaign on me. But if I let somebody live rent free in my head, I'm not living my purpose.
Yeah. And I think it, for I I avoid doing third party readings. I've done them when I was first starting, because I was understanding what my ethics were and what my boundaries were and what I was comfortable with reading. So I think appropriate means various things depending upon the time of the day, the energy around it. So I think it's, for me, is appropriate questions. I go back to what I've been reading, and I'm highly influenced um, by people who have helpful insights. Is like, is this going to be helpful for you to do something with, to help you achieve your understanding and to point out some action? So, um, go ahead, Thomas.
And when I was reading for the Fall Bazaar, there was a lady who had her friend sit with her because she wanted to buy the friend a reading because she thought the friend needed the reading. But the friend just said, no, but was there with the reading. And apparently the cards came out and gave the friend the reading, even though the other person paid for it. So, and apparently the message was just what was needed to put their mind at ease and um, create some healing in their life.
Yeah. Sadhana brings up a really excellent point. I think we all have different boundaries in terms of questions appropriate.
Yes.
Is subjective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yes.
My boundaries don't have to match your boundaries. It's
Yes.
each of us is an individual, and we're each free to decide what's appropriate for us.
Yes. And the appropriate questions can change
Yes.
as I become comfortable in what type of reading I'm doing. So, and again, if um, I don't, okay. Integrative Healing with Sadhana's channel, very, very helpful, very enlightening,
Yes.
and very helps me think about things and figure out what's so important to me, which is what I want you to get out of Tarot, the Stash Way. I'm just putting out topics. This is to get you to start thinking about things. So I'm not the end all. So I'm gonna get caught up. Calla Lizzie said, I sort of do them, but only for myself. I never do them for anyone else. I suppose since I'm one of the parties, then it's not really a third party reading. Then it depends upon what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Gerald, maybe somebody asks a question that's like bounds on something that's on our limits, but then we have a tool or a deck that is good at answering such questions, such tricky or murky questions. And then we can pick that tool, and it might give the just answer. Maybe not the message that they wanted to hear, but the honest answer.
Yeah. I was thinking about the person who pays for a question, who pays to have their friend get a reading and they want to sit in on it. I've had that happen, and I love Deb. Is she's like, I've actually said, it may not be best for you to sit on it,
Yeah.
because it may be a question for you. So, Sadhana shared, I don't feel that some querents even understand the nature of this conversation, or so. So part of our role as readers is to help querents look deeper into themselves and understand why they are asking in the first place. Amen.
Yes.
Because that's part of the reason is a lot of times sitting down and having a conversation, either with yourself before you do your reading or with someone else before they do a reading, it really helps to energetically, I feel it helps to line things up and to get the level of support. Yeah. And Teresa is here. Hello, Teresa. And Kathy Tortoiseshell Moon asked, with third-party readings, they're asking about another person's life. It's against my boundaries. But they often ask if their partner is cheating and still loves them, etc., and it becomes blurred. It's tricky. I mean, I get that. And Sadhana brings up, what is he thinking of me? So let's take that apart. Why are you focusing outward instead of inward? Likely it's easier to look out. Yes.
Or why is he cheating on me? And then I could ask the question, why are you putting up with it? Or I could ask the question of, are you thinking of cheating on him?
Interesting. Okay. If she's work lurking, she's work lurking. Regina's Tarot and Wirecraft, oftentimes when she's giving reading, she says, she talks about the thoughts and feelings speech, as she calls it, which is this is a moment in time. People's thoughts and feelings change. This is just looking at this right now, and it could be different. So that's an important thing to figure out and to pay attention to as well. I swear, you all are like the best chatters. So
They are.
I mean, this is great. So romantic questions are always iffy to me. And in fact, in a couple of these books, really helpful, they talk about that. And one, the Mary Kay Greer talks about, when will I find love? Isn't necessarily a helpful question, but is it, what can I do to be open to finding love? Or where are areas of my life that I am looking for something? And so you can break that down. And a lot of times, skilled and ethical readers will, a lot of times there's more than one layering of cards that can come out, because one spread will add a layer of understanding.
And taking care of yourself is an act of love. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, so you're open to love.
Yes. Go ahead, Thomas. Were you downloading?
I was going somewhere, but I lost the thread.
Oh, Calla Lizzie said, I do get a lot of High Priestess. I won't tell you cards.
Well, you got to ask the right question again. because
Yeah.
she will tell you, but you have to have the right phrasing.
Absolutely. Hypnicity asks, anytime you do a read on public figure, that's a third party reading, isn't it? Yes, to a point. Being a public figure has all sorts of layers around it. And I can only speak for myself because I do some political reads. And I really take myself out of it and I focus on what is the question. Because if this is a really good point, because for readings like that, it has to be a really clear question because I have to take myself out of it and I really work hard at just reading the cards in front of me, not what I think about the situation.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's celebrity or politician or anything like that, they have signed away a certain amount of right to privacy just by being public figures.
Yeah.
Even in law, it provides for public figures to be public. So if you put yourself out in the public and you are doing your thing on the world stage, then you have opened yourself up for scrutiny. So it is a third party question, but it's different because people who do their job on a stage are open to being publicly scrutinized because that's part of their job.
Yeah. Betsy says, isn't all life everything about relationships? Our relationship with self, spirit, people, public, professional? The short answer is yes. The longer answer is yes, especially when we pay attention to that and we notice the ripple effect. How I behave impacts other things. And that is, I mean, you could get me on a soapbox for that. I could totally do that because, yes. I guess just when you need to look at where the third party overlaps with the querent and examine how it affects their own life and how they feel themselves. That's pretty insightful thoughts there. So, and Twisted Sushi says, well, it's about, to me, connecting to an energy. And if you do not have permission to dive into another's energy, it can have consequences. Ooh, girl, you saying the truth. So, yeah. And when you read for someone, you are accessing someone's Akashic records. Definitely, perhaps. And Nancy has said this before. Sometimes the querent already knows the answer
Yes.
to the question being asked. And okay. The querent always knows the answer. Whether they are open to hearing it or not is another matter. There can be that moment of uncomfortable aha when you're like, oh crap, that makes sense to me. So
Why did I ask that?
why did I ask that? Yeah. Sometimes I laugh out loud to myself when a querent comes back a week after week asking the same questions, looking for a different answer. Yes, Sadhana. I find that to be very frustrating sometimes, and I chuckle about that. And sometimes I'm like, when we need to rephrase the question, because if you're not getting the answer you want, then you need to ask a different question.
Yes.
Well, to a brick and mortar or professional reader, you have to look at your own ethics. Are you going to keep taking money for the same question if they're not going to listen to the answers? Sure, you can make a lot of bank off of it, but are you doing your client, your querent, the best service by saying, hey, you might want to give this a rest or think about it for a few months before revisiting this sort of questioning.
Well, and there's something to be said about um, if you have a if you have a thoughtful question and that's meaningful to you. I have actually done it when things are okay. I've actually gone to a reader and had them read on that question so that I'm not in crisis mode because I want to do that. What's the checkup? I call them well baby visits. I go to the doctors regularly to make sure that I'm catching something early if there's a problem. And so I think it's for me, it's that I'm going to go away. I'm not shopping around for my answer that I want. So Morella said, follow your gut. And I'm thinking you're right. No need to ask. Sometimes it's great to ask because I have had some readings from some great readers because I go in with the idea of here's what I'm thinking about and I'm needing some other insights. So yes, Gerald, just learn how to ask that question about my being open to love. Mm-hmm. And Calla Lizzie said exactly. When I cross a boundary trying to read into someone else's energy, the cards will shut me down sometimes. The cards know what they are doing. I think so. I that's what happens to me. Does it happen to you, Thomas, when you're reading for something and you shouldn't? They sort of shut.
Yeah, the cards will draw me a blank.
Yeah.
Mine too. Even my pendulum will do the same thing. So whatever tool I'm using, if I'm not supposed to know the answer, it won't tell me.
Well, and I've actually said that to some people. It's just like, I'm not getting a read on this. And it tells me that I'm not the right one to answer it for you. Now's not the time for you to be asking the question, or we need to change the question.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually done that when I've had, when I have done in person readings. Somebody is giving me money for a reading and nothing's coming up. And I'm like, this isn't working. I'm not sure what's going on. Here's your money back. Thank you. Because that's just for me. Tom said, that's always what I tell myself when I do all my readings about Gerald, maniacal laughter. You better be emailing me and telling me what insight you have. So, and Sadhana said, Medium Betsy Palmer, I agree all about all questions being relationships, questions about self, understanding self. Yeah. I mean, and we've talked about this before. It's a tool to understanding ourselves and how we interact with the world. I mean, that's how I feel. Okay. Teresa said, I plan to listen for from the beginning. Good show. Learning. And I just got here. I'm glad you're learning. How do you take your opinions completely out of it? I think she's talking about political reads. Sometimes I can do it, and other times before I check myself. I don't want to give away, too much of how I prep for doing readings during a live, but I do prep. And part of that is I'm keeping things at bay, and I need to know what is coming out of my mouth and what's coming out through the cards, what the cards are saying through me. Does that make any sense to the two of you?
Yes.
Okay. Beth said, public figure, you can use the journalist rule. If it's an unsophisticated source, you take care not to make them look like idiots. If it's a public figure, all bets are off.
Some of them make themselves look like idiots. we don't have to do anything to help that out.
Thank you, Sadhana. Part of it may be married life. It's going to be a year next month on the 10th of October. It's incredible. Definitely, perhaps. Is that like kind of, sort of, but not really? Maybe, kind of, sort of.
Possibly.
Yeah. Okay. Beth said, I have one client and every reading I say, you're probably not going to like this. We always have a laugh about that. And that's also very important to remember. Not only is our readings oftentimes about relationships, they are oftentimes about relationships with you and the querent. Because I'm really working hard at being supportive, even when times are really challenging. I want them to feel supported. And Calozzi said, that's good, Thomas. Put a few months, wait and see on it. Yep.
Yes.
Bye, medium Betsy Palmer. And Tom said, how do you, as a proficient readers, try not to over or reinterpret the other readers reading for you? How do you, as proficient readers, try not to over or reinterpret the other readers reading for you? So if we were reading for each other,
I don't let my reader self sit in the querent chair. So I remove not my knowledge, but my insight, because if it's on me, then I'm in the same place that anyone asking a question in chat is.
mm-hmm.
So I'm looking for advice and insight into direction or energy that I couldn't get myself in reading for myself. So I take my reader hat off
Mm-hmm.
when I do that.
Sadhana asked Tom to rephrase his question. It's like, if you are getting a reading from someone, how do you not try to correct their interpretation of the cards laid out? The reader as querent. I think that's a really interesting question. And so as a reader getting a reading and you want to analyze the other's interpretations, it's like, yes.
I don't try to reinterpret.
I don't either.
Because it's my platform is Tarot Your Way. Everyone has their own way of reading tarot and interpreting it, and that's the right way for them. It's not for me to reinterpret how I see things.
I also think for me is it's similar to that, Thomas. I'm not doing the reading, and I know what those cards mean to me, but I don't know how those cards have chosen to be laid out for that reader and what the message is. So it can be a challenge, and I try to really, I try to really step back, and it's like, okay, this isn't, I'm not doing the reading. I need to really, and I will take notes. And if somebody's looking at the 5 of Pentacles and they talk about a certain way, and that's not how I read it, I try to put that back and go, time out. This isn't my reading. What's the relationship between that card and all of the other cards around it? Because I don't want to steal somebody's, I don't want to steal somebody's limelight. So, and Sadhana said, it's not easy as an experienced reader to get a reading from another reader. Yeah.
I find it the only way for me, because I can't take myself out of a personal reading for me, so I don't do readings for myself. But I'm finding that with my card of the day pulls, a lot of the times the message is for me.
Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Fogo Pogo said, it's no different than reading a book. Just because you read it one way doesn't mean someone else isn't going to read it another. And it doesn't mean both are either right or wrong. And Sadhana said, I receive messages from students, fellow readers, as they come in with an open mind, or at least try to. I think that open mind is a really important thing as a reader and a querent. Some days I'm better at it than others, to be honest with you. So, Nancy, Paper Moon Tarot. Hi, Nancy. How do you explain to a querent the fact that a reading on the same question for the same person on a different day will or can be different?
I say something like, I'm reading the energy. Today, the energy says this, but if you come back tomorrow and ask the same question, the energy around it may have changed, and so the message will have changed.
Yeah. What do you do with that, Thomas?
And we're creatures of free will, so we don't know what we did during the day that changed the outcome of all subsequent days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes I just get blunt and go, you asked that question the other day. I'm going to give somebody, do you got a different question? But other times it's very much like what Thomas and Deb said. It's like, here's the energy today. You may be feeling different. What have you done since we talked about this? I try to avoid those as best as I can, or redirect them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Tom is saying, I like that, Thomas. So there you go. I should just leave that up the whole time, right, Thomas?
Well, that'd make me feel good. Thank you, Tom.
Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy said, am I pregnant? Girl, do a pregnancy test. Or on a serious note, I don't do fertility or medical readings. I'm not a doctor, and the risk for heartbreak if I misinterpret something is too great. You understand your boundaries and your ethics. Good for you. And Jane the Seeker is in the car, so saying hi.
Please be careful, Jane.
Yes.
I see you texting.
Yeah, keep both hands.
She's only got, she got one hand on the wheel because there's a pink hand waving, a pink hand waving, a pink hand waving.
I love it. And okay. And Kala Lizzie said that could be really useful, helpful in seeing how someone else interprets certain cards for you. I have to say, when I do a reading with someone, and if we're in person, I will sometimes ask them, what do they see when they see these cards? Because that, I believe, is messages coming through for them. And I do this for people who don't do readings and for people who do readings, because I like that layered effect. So, yeah, I believe that Spirit wants you to listen to the reader. Yes. And Tom said, I agree. I get readings by people who are asking spirit guides, etc., which is not necessarily something I personally believe in or do, but I still accept their reading. Yeah. Because it's their way of getting the information. So, and don't be scared of the healing. Goodness gracious, hit the thumbs up. Yep. Okay. Best chatters have had us going on for an hour and 10 minutes. It's great. Because you are reading the now person, even a minute later, that person is different. Learned something, saw something, etc. And that's that simply by asking the question changes the energy around it.
Yes.
So, and Antoinette Tarot and Jewelry. Hi, Tony. I often find I can layer stuff onto a reading being given. I had one Saturday from Scott. A particular card often has a set meaning for me too. And I learn a lot by sharing reading space with people. It's one of the, hashtag one of the benefits of doing readings with people is I see how they interpret the cards, and I file those away. I think they're so great. So and okay, just getting caught up. Yeah, there you go. The message may only be slightly changed, restated, coming from a different angle, so you may see it better. And that goes back to what we were talking about is our responsibility is how to deliver the message so people can hear it in the best way. So, okay. Beth and Sada and I are talking about yoga because both of them do yoga and teach yoga. Best thing about taking a yoga class is when you wake up the next day having used muscles you don't address in your own practices. Oh, there's muscles involved in yoga?
Yes.
Goodness. Goodness.
Only slightly less dangerous than skiing for me.
Yeah. Coyote Rosenbaum 91 is here. Hi, Coyote and Mystic Traveler. Hello. I'm glad it's been informative. Oh, I totally like taking pictures of my readings. And sometimes if I do a reading for someone and I have and I have their email, I will take a picture of it and send it to them.
I have done that as well.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to, in the interest of time, let's end with, how can one get better at asking or phrasing questions?
Thomas has the answer to that one.
Make it something that you can be actionable upon.
Yes.
Ask what you can do to help or assist in gaining that insight that you're desiring.
Mm-hmm.
And practice.
Carnegie Hall again.
Now you give us the whole spiel about Carnegie Hall.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall, Gerald?
Practice. And I honestly think sometimes, like when I do readings for myself, because I will write them down and I'll take notes. I will date it. I'll tell which deck I'm using. And I will go back to those periodically. And I'm like going, why the heck did I ask that question? That no wonder I didn't understand the cards and what they meant. And that phrasing the question, asking why multiple times. So here you go. Ask yourself, what am I really asking? And as Nancy said, ask yourself, why am I asking this?
Yes.
Yeah. So
get to the bleeping point.
Yeah. Get to the bleeping point. Well, that's true. However, sometimes people need the story in order to understand it. It's just like we read books for different reasons. Sometimes we like setting. Sometimes we like dialogue. And sometimes we want that inner process. And so it's really very important. You do you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would say that it's akin to love languages. What is your tarot language?
ooh, that's an interesting one. Maybe we should have Thomas back and talk about what is your tarot language. So
That would be fun.
that could be fun. Yeah, Thomas is like going, what did I just sign up
Yeah,
for?
what did I step into?
What did I do? Yeah, reading more
I
books.
left Iowa years ago, but why is there a cow patty right here?
Reading more books. I always like more information that expands how to ask questions. Yes, and there are books that are actually like practice questions and things of that nature. Narrow the question so it's not general. Yes, and sometimes it's okay to ask for a general question if that's genuinely what you mean. And Nancy said, this discussion has been very helpful to me. You're welcome. Twisted Sushi said, intention. Is that what I want to ask, or is there something else behind it? Yep. And truer words have never been spoken. Sometimes we need to dance around the mulberry bush for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Is that why nobody talks about the elephant in the room?
well, Deb's right next to you. You knew that one was coming. But sometimes we do miss the obvious. Hi, Wani. Good to see you. Tarot love languages. And more helpful advice. Be kind to yourself.
Yes.
You are learning. We are learning. I'm learning. So write stuff down. Be nice to yourself. Support yourself. Have those, those successes. So, Deb does.
I do.
So, thank you everyone for being here. This has been wonderful. You are all definitely best chatters. Definitely best chatters. And yes, we need to ask the general question because we might be scared to get the truth when narrowed. It could be.
It is possible.
Yeah. Here you go. Hi, Patchwork Tarot, Jennifer H. Sometimes I reverse engineer my questions. I ask myself, what is it that I want from the question? Advice, next steps, or reassurance, etc. That helps me figure out how to ask the question. That's really helpful. That's really helpful. I like that. I like that a lot. So here's Tarot, the Stash Way. I'm so grateful that everyone is here. And Thomas, you are on next Monday with Kelly from Dozen Cats Wellness. Tarot.
7:00 Eastern.
Yep.
The 18th.
So, and Deb, what do you got coming up?
This evening, I will be part of Caffeinated and Unfiltered readings on Tarot Stash. And then Thursday, I will be back on Tarot Stash for Woo Woo Witchery and Coffee Club.
Yes.
Do we have a specific subject for that day, or are we just?
It's woo woo.
Just woo woo. Okay.
Well,
So yes, bring your questions, and we'll be happy to.
Yeah.
Discuss things.
Yeah. And so we have a couple of people who have just, Wani said, I'm always doubting myself, so I will question others. I mean, give yourself a break. Be nice to yourself. And Tanis is here. Tanis, I was mentioning you earlier in the asking the 5 whys as it comes to phrasing questions. Very helpful. And oh, look at that. You get it. Patchwork Tarot's Jennifer H. said, my approach to tarot is very much stitched together.
Indeed.
Can't make this up. And this is Jen. Jennifer is here. And Jennifer is going to be on my channel next month as we talk about, we're going to do a second laugh and learn about, right here. No, not right here. Human design. We're going to talk about human design. We're going to do a part 2 to that. So,
and that'll be fascinating.
Yes. Thank you, Kala Lizzie, for putting in Sadhana's link. And Sadhana asks, ask yourself a question. Listen to your body. What is stirring? Very, very helpful. Yeah. And Yeah, woo-woo is a great subject.
It is.
Yes. So it's good to see you as well. And okay, so all right, everybody, thank you very much. And you are live soon. Yeah, Twisted Sushi was asking earlier if I'm on lives all day today. No, just 3 times. So the next one is at 7 p.m. So got a couple of hours, enough time to do various stuff. So, oh yes, Twillo Lifestyle is live at 5 Eastern. She and Jen. So please tell me you don't light up a cigarette afterwards. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So we're going to head out, and Jackie's Crystal Moon, I believe, is here. Yes. So everybody who is watching this, thank you very much. And please make sure to leave a comment after the live. Share this video with people who may benefit from it, and it's great. So thanks everyone for being here. And Coyote said, thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And we have kisses for Monkey. So Wani, that's why there's playback. Yeah, I love it. Thomas is doing that. So all right, everyone, take care. Bye.
Thank you.